This is John Callaghan with Michigan Pool News, and I'm here today with Scott Camp from Aquatic Source. And Scott's got some pictures that he wants to go through with us and talk about some marcite repairs. So, Scott, dive into your content. What have you got for us?
Hey, thanks, John. Well, all of us have been at this point at one time or another where the swimming pool just doesn't quite come up to standards, and we need to resurface the interior of the swimming pool. Obviously, this picture shows one that probably should have been done several years prior to this, but it is one of those things that happens, and that's why we want to talk about budgeting and how to prepare for something like this.
Right.
It can be quite an undertaking for the owner, and it can be quite costly at times. My first thought is that nobody likes to deal with it, but it's a necessary evil when you have an aquatic facility like this to take care of it. So,
is it a lot cheaper if they repair it versus waiting it for all to fall apart like this one?
You can, yeah. It's if you can make repairs throughout the years, you will add longevity to it, because a lot of the outdoor facilities, they get water damage, and once you get penetrations into the surface, obviously you can see it starts making bigger messes. On the interior facilities, it still makes sense, because the plaster itself is actually your waterproofing membrane of your pool shell. So it keeps the moisture out of the places that you don't want it, even if it is an interior facility, or you're going to end up with pool leaks and things that long term could really be some issues. So the picture shown here is just a standard marcite job, and you do have other choices. There's pebble surfaces, there are quartz surfaces, and then a lot of the plasters will even do some modified type plasters where they make it stronger and better, and stronger and better always costs more money too when you're looking at budgeting too. So the normal life of a plaster like this is anywhere. It can range, and we talk a lot about operators and pool chemicals. This is a direct reflection of their abilities, and the quicker you lose a plaster job is normally the operator maybe didn't have as good a training at his CPO course or AFO course as an operator that I like to say really gets it. If you got one of those operators that really gets it, we've seen a standard marcite job like this go, 20, 25 years in some of our facilities. On the outdoors, they have some other necessary evils, which is our weather and closing them down and opening them every spring, and the staining that happens over the winter. And usually, if you get 7 to 10, is considered a kind of like an industry norm. But we have seen them go 15 and even longer, just with good covers and different things. So there's actually some fiberglass and epoxy finishes out there now that have really gained a lot of traction. And I can't say that our company is real sharp on them, but I know that on the indoor facilities, there's a few Marriotts that do a really good job using some of these epoxy and fiberglass finishes over top of the concrete. On the outdoor facilities, I don't think it's an avenue anybody should head down, and that goes to with the weather. You've got these expansion and contraction rates that happen outside, and when they happen, concrete has an expansion and contraction rate, and that's why marcite's so good for it, because marcite is a Portland cement product. The pebbles and the quartz, other things that you can use to plaster the interior pool with, are made from Portland cement and Portland-based products. When you start putting products on like epoxy paints or fiberglass, there's expansion and contraction rates that happen differently with those products to concrete. So here you got two products attached to each other, moving at dissimilar speed or rates with expansion and contraction, and we see a lot of issues. I'm not saying that some of the epoxy paints are really good, because a lot of our clients paint their pool year to year, and they like it because they can do it themselves, and they don't have to hire a professional, and they can just keep slopping on another coat and make it another year. And it's an inexpensive way for them to say, hey, we've got a new surface this year.
Right.
They roll it on. So what is the right time is another thing. As you commented earlier, John, you said, hey, can they pass and stuff? Well, when clients start complaining, not our clients, but your clients in your facility start complaining about their feet getting raw and they start cutting themselves, I mean,
Right.
that's definite sign. When you
Right.
start to see structural fatigue and stuff like that, when you get algae build up, and you'll see a few of the structural fatigue and stuff like that in a couple of slides coming up. I mean, it can be real troublesome. But,
Yeah, I'm anxious to see some of your other pictures there. You had some good ones that you were showing me there earlier.
Yeah. And you look at something that that's just been recently redone, and you got some nice smooth lines and good finishes and so forth, and that goes back to looking at some of the professionals that do this.
Mm-hmm.
You really need to know that you've got a company that's done this multiple times and has lots of references.
Mm.
And you can call on those references. People don't do enough background checks of the people that are doing this kind of work, and there's and I guess in some respects it's difficult for them when they're looking into this to getting this type of service done, because this is I talk to my father a lot. This is a lost art. I mean, this plastering is the way they plaster houses.
Huh.
It's the same people that did before drywall, 4x8 sheets of sheetrock were invented. These were the same guys that plastered pools were plastering the interior of building walls and so forth. So
I didn't know that.
Art form. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Hmm.
Some of the other things that you really want to ask questions about is when you get into installing the surface on a new pool is a little different than installing it on an existing. And when they're troweling this plaster on, there's nicknames for them: scratch coat and bond coat, and that's part of the prep aspect of it. You want to make sure that they're using the proper products to do this. That just goes to longevity. How long is this stuff going to stick to my shell and stay there?
Right.
And this is it's just a rolled on product, and it rolls on, but then you have less than 2 weeks to get the new plaster over top of it. There's a lot of things that need to happen timely to make that happen. And, this picture kind of shows a guy troweling the surface on, but there was a lot of time with that black target next to him of chiseling back and prepping those areas. You don't want to just put a half-inch groove around the tile. They need to go back 4 to 6 inches away from that tile, and so that the new plaster lays flush to the target. Some of these older pools that maybe weren't prepped quite right. Plasters spent time just rolling plaster over plaster, and the racing lanes in the bottom of the pool start to look like little trenches. And when it's time to clean the pool and so forth, that's where all the cleaning products go, is right on the tile, eats the grout up, and it's gone within a couple of years. They're constantly redoing things. So,
okay.
The other things to think of, and as you can see, this one here, you can see how well they chiseled way back away from the ceramic tile, and laid down some new bond coat, which is usually a scratch coat, or is a product that's a different color. It's a black, and it's an adhesive, and then it gives them the ability to trowel the tile up to the tile very flush, instead of letting stuff like that turn into basically bumps, because the product goes on for a half inch thick, 3/8 to an half, and that's another good process for any client that's getting ready to do this. You need to get your hands on a good specification for the products and stuff that you want, so that when people are bidding it, they know exactly what they're bidding.
Okay.
It'll give you a better budget number when you're doing it. So, all right, so you got it's get your new finish installed. You look at all your structural repairs, and you start thinking about those, and your tiles. You need to think about your skimmers. You need to think about any of your DEQ standards that might be involved. Tile lines and the steps and so forth, demarcations and all those things need to be thought of. So then when it comes time to figuring out how to budget for it, the thing you need to know the most is make sure you know how many square foot of pool area you're doing, and you need to figure it a couple of different ways: your surface square footage and your walls. You need to lay the walls down and figure out how many square foot of wall area do you need to do. And that's definite when you're talking to contractors to get your budget set up. You need to know that square footage, and they can give you some budgets right from there. Like I said, a great thing to do too is make sure you get a couple of contractors that you know you check the references. The next thing is visit the National Plaster Council. It's npc.com, National Plasters Council, and they're going to give you. They've got like 3 or 4 links on their site, and we possibly can get it attached somewhere here. I think in the video, or people can click on it. Or
I'll put it right below the video.
yeah, oh great. And they can go there, and there's a lot of information from the National Plaster Council. And then the last thing I want to say is add 10 to 15% to the numbers you're getting just for those hidden problems that will crop up when you're doing this thing. Whether you've got to reroute lanes, or you got to do more tile replacement, or as this picture shows you, you might need to do a rail. So doing your homework is going to be the best thing you can do. So, because when you get done, you don't want to be standing there with a job that just didn't fit through the door. So, thanks, John.
Okay. Thanks, Scott. We'll see you next month again on Michigan Pool News.